Falcon fans, and of course, good old Falcon fans. T Will's in the building. One time for the fan. You already know what it is. You already know what to do. Episode 188 on this beautiful Friday morning here in Atlanta. Breakfast with one time for the fan. Wake up, rise up with one time for the fan. T Will, how's everything going for you, sir?
Hey man, day by day. Thankful the Lord woke me up this morning. Thankful I get a chance to talk about Falcons with you this morning on an early Falcons Friday.
Yeah.
How goeth it with you, Mr. Jack?
Oh man, feeling good, feeling great. Falcon fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday. So tag your Falcon friends, tell your Falcons family. One time for the fan is on just for a few minutes here. We ain't gonna hold y'all up too much on this Friday morning. You know, the Masters is on too as well for a lot of us here that watch sports. Something that you can get, you watch in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So it's probably gonna take up most of y'all day for those that is off, or for those that have to go to work, for those on the way to work, for those eating your breakfast. Once again, good morning. Breakfast with one time for the fan here, talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday. T Will, so much to go over here today. We had a great show on Wednesday, talking Falcons football with everybody in the chat, and so we missed last week breakfast with one time for the fan, so we apologize, but we are back here. I know the Friday morning shows are pretty lit. We have some West Coast Falcon fans that love enjoying the show early in the morning, waking them up. We're up before the sun is up over there in California right now.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. I had to throw that out there one.
Shit, you got all West Coast on us for a second there, huh? Got all Ice Cube on the second there for us. Philip Crawford is in the chat. Good morning, Philip Crawford with the one time. He is awake. You know, he wants to talk some Falcons football. Tevin Phillips is in the chat too as well with the yo. Hey, diehard Atlanta Falcon fans. There are some people that is literally getting up right now for work or getting their kids ready for school, and they're like, one time for the fan is live. Yeah, man, this ain't no repeat. We are talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday.
Party people, we are live.
Yeah, man. Let's go ahead and get. I hear you. Let's go ahead and get straight to it. You know, the NFL media, Terry, a lot loves to throw different ideas out, different scenarios out that make fans believe that something could happen that most fans are not even thinking about, right? Especially when it gets close to free agency, when it gets close to the offseason.
Right.
You have a lot of NFL media outside of Atlanta,
right,
who most fans would say, you know, this guy doesn't focus too much on Atlanta. He's focused on all 32 teams in the NFL. And of course, as most journalists do, they have a lot of work on their table, right? It's different than a Falcons journalist who focuses on the Falcons.
Right.
Versus like us. We focus on the Falcons. Though we know about all the other teams in the NFL and what's going on, we focus on the Falcons. We're not going to come here on the podcast and tell you about the Patriots. We're not going to come here on the podcast and tell you about the Jets and the Bears, though we may mention them a few times. But it's about
definitely not the Saints. We will not talk about those Swampers. I'm sorry, man. I had a little caffeine this morning. I just got to get it out, Jack. Go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
The Swamp Rats. We do not mention them too much on the channel. If we do, it's in sheer utter disrespect. But when you're going over NFL journalists and people who follow the Falcons or NFL media or just news that could be breaking, or for some of them, they love to break news. Brian Baldinger, who most of y'all know as Baldy NFL on Twitter, X, whatever he is. He mentioned the other day that he believes that the Falcons are going to shake up the draft and go quarterback in the first round. He believes that the quarterback coach relationship is very important in the NFL. He mentioned Matt Ryan too as well during his take. It was like a minute and 20 something seconds. It's on his Twitter page. Matter of fact, yeah, I don't want to play it. I'm not going to play it here, but I actually can show it. So let me go ahead and get this up for Falcon fans in the chat. Once again, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. Help us get there. Terry, you can see it?
Yes, sir.
So this is the video right here with Baldy, and I'm not going to play the volume, but big shout out to Baldy, Brian Baldinger, because he's been covering the NFL for a while, and of course, he had his stink in the NFL too as well. But Brian has been getting around a lot in the Falcons community with this take that he believes the Falcons are going to shake it up in the draft and go with a quarterback. Now, Terry, we talked about this the other night. And a lot of fans were in the chat going crazy because of the fact of the Falcons had the, scheduled the workout with Michael Penix and so forth. And we haven't heard too much talk about J.J. McCarthy with the Falcons or Bo Nix or the Falcons or any other quarterback. I think Michael Penix was a name fans had mentioned earlier on in their mock drafts. Baldy also goes on to say that in a lot of mock drafts, the Falcons do take a quarterback. And I do think that the Falcons will go quarterback in this draft, unless they decide to grab one in the free agency before the draft that shows that our QB room is full, right? Like there's a Ryan Tannehill. There's a couple of the quarterbacks that's still out there that the Falcons can bring in to say, all right, he's going to compete against Taylor for that second spot, right?
Right.
But for the draft, for the NFL draft, for Baldy to say that we're going to shake things up and not go defense and go quarterback, that's the ultimate shocker. That is the ultimate shock right there for Falcon fans. For me too as well. Terry, I don't know for you too, but if I'm sitting there on draft night and the Falcons go with the 8th pick and they select a quarterback, if it's Penix, I'm going to sit back and say, that's the one I'm going to question. Now, I understand Kirk Cousins. I understand the age. I understand the injury. But a quarterback in the first round, Terry, we've done so much talking about the defense draft and trading back, and the talk of trading up for a quarterback was before Kirk, but now to hear Baldy mention that he thinks the Falcons would shake things up and go with the quarterback. What are your thoughts on that? Because for me, and Grim from JR from Pound for Pound was on our podcast the other night, and he mentioned that too as well, that the quarterback issue here in Atlanta is that definitely upgraded with Kirk Cousins, but it would be a shock to go get a quarterback in the first round of the NFL draft. But Terry, your thoughts on that? Is it a smokescreen? I know a lot of NFL media, people's just going to talk and chatter. It's something to build content. It's something to, get the people talking at the table. You know what I'm saying? Hell, we're talking about it right now, 8:44 on a Friday morning because of what Baldy said, because it has to relate to the Falcons. So Baldy's comments on the Falcons taking a quarterback in the first round, he didn't say that this is a mock draft from Baldy either. He didn't say this is his mock draft. He said that he believes the Falcons will shake up the draft and take a quarterback. Terry, your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good chance it's clickbait. I don't. If you draft a quarterback at 8 in the first round, in my opinion, you're going to need to start him. And I just don't see that happening in the next 2 years. Now, it could be that, maybe he's stoking the fires a little bit. Maybe it's clickbait. Maybe he's generating interest. Now they say an intelligent mind can consider two diametrically opposed opinions. So let's play this out, right? If Terry F. Baby, as he is is truly best player available, I don't know that that's Penix at 8. Right? But I don't know how the Falcons see him. So to the extent that they do see him as the best player available, absent any variables, absent any context, i.e. we really need an edge rush, then I see that in that world, absolutes. But in the real world, I just cannot see that. Now, if you're telling me we're going to trade back with Minnesota and grab picks 11 and 23, and you want to grab Penix at 23, for me, that's a little more digestible, right? I can see that. I can get behind that. I can understand that. But at 8, first and foremost, I think that's a reach for Penix. And no disrespect, the guy's accurate. He's probably one of the most accurate guys in the draft, but he's also injury prone. And he's also prone to happy feet when pressured. So he still needs work. I cannot see you going with pick 8 for that. I don't see that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question is it even possible? Like, this could just be clickbait, and it could be even more working for the Falcons' favor, because other GMs could be out there like, well, maybe they are going to take a quarterback. Well, maybe we knew.
We talked about that the other night. That might bring the trade bait to say the Vikings, the Broncos, the Raiders, hearing Baldy talk, and for most fans that want the trade back, hearing Baldy's comments kind of gets you like, if the Vikings want that 8, come get 8. If the Raiders want it, come get it. Because we talked about this too. Being a team that doesn't have a quarterback going into the draft, and you're going to be in a position where quarterback is going to be a dire need. Now, you went and got Kirk Cousins. So for me, and even with Taylor Heineke, I know they said Taylor Heineke is going to be battling for a spot. But for me, I kind of see Taylor as already the QB2 in this system. And if they go like quarterback 4th round or 5th round, it's going to be a competition battle, but I still see Taylor taking QB2, right? Agreed. So that's just the opinion that I have. But if you're going quarterback at 8, I need to see that guy on the field week 1, man. I'm telling you the truth. Like, this team is built to win now, and my 1st round pick is not on the field, but my 2nd and my 3rd and my 4th and my 5th is on the field, and we're sitting the 1st round down for the next 2 years. I'm perfectly fine with selecting a quarterback somewhere in this draft, or if they want to do it in the free agency. But at pick number 8, please, Falcons, please, just for me, me and for those maybe in the chat, don't pick a quarterback at 8. Don't do this. Don't do it. And if it is the quarterback, I'm still going. I still rock with the team. I still rock with the organization. But a quarterback at 8 in this draft that is so heavy around the quarterback position, like, you were in that position to go get a quarterback when you didn't get Kurt, or when you didn't know if you was going to get Kurt in the beginning. So you could have did the draft situation where you could have selected Penix at 8. You could have got JJ McCarthy. You could have went the route and tried to trade it up to the Commanders or the Patriots. But they didn't go that route. They went with Kirk Cousins. And I understand the injury and the money. I totally do. But a rookie quarterback at 8, after you just spent a bunch of money on Kirk Cousins, after you re-signed Taylor Heineke, after you don't have the premier edge rusher that Falcon fans had wanted, and you try to target edge rushers if you didn't get Kurt, you have to go and target that need. I mean, it's a BPA. BPA at 8 is Michael Penix. That's the BPA, Baldy?
Right.
And no disrespect to Baldy, though, but that's the BPA at 8 for our team. Looking at our roster. Look at our roster right now. Shape it out. The BPA is a quarterback at 8. Are you kidding me? Yeah,
I don't see it. I mean,
I can't do it.
I don't know what he's privy to, right? But I don't see Penix at 8. Yeah. And to be honest with you, I don't know that any of the edge rushers in the draft are premium talent. They all have pros and cons, right?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So, you don't necessarily have to take them at 8. You could take one of them at 11. I believe one of them will be there.
Yeah, definitely.
You could take one of them at 11. You don't necessarily have to draft 8. But what you don't want to do is reach. You want to get value for the pick. And I define value as someone that you can plug and play day 1, and someone that is commensurate with the pick that you're selecting, right? And I just, and again, hey, this is all relative, right? Yeah. And 5 years, Penix could be a superstar. I'm not saying that he can't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that looking at, deducing at what I've seen, and I don't see him at 8. And if I don't see him at 8, and maybe other GMs will see this and be like, yeah, right. But maybe they won't.
Give me the Vikings roster, the Broncos roster, the Raiders roster. My quarterback issue is more of a situation than the Falcons.
Yeah.
And for me to move up, that's why I was talking about the teams that need quarterbacks and the quarterbacks that were going to be available. I continue to talk about that before the free agency. If you don't get a quarterback and you go into the draft, you would have a moment like this.
Yes.
But now that you have a quarterback, and it's the injury, because I know where I guess where Baldy's going with that is it's the injury too as well with Kurt. So and Baldy he didn't give no disrespect to the Falcons as well. You know, he gives a
Absolutely.
lot of takes all the time. He
Yeah.
gives a lot of takes. So we're just discussing the take that Baldy had, that the Falcons would select a quarterback in the draft. Dallas Turner has been a name since before the free agency has opened, since the Falcons went to go select Kirk Cousins. CBS mock draft reports and early mocks back around the Super Bowl had saying the Falcons would go for Dallas Turner. And then even getting closer to this date right now, there are still heavy mocks, not fan mocks, NFL mocks, media mocks that are saying that Dallas Turner would be going to the Falcons. Some would say, hey, trade back, collect some more value. You can get a Jared Verse. Some would say Latu. Grim from Pound for Pound brought up a good point that the last linebacker who had a injury similar to Latu only played about 4.5 to 5 years in the NFL. So that is a major concern, where on some mocks, Latu is not even in the top 10. Some of them, he's not even in the top 20. He's going back between 20, 30. So maybe on the Falcons getting a trade back with the Vikings, or a team that can, give them more value, you could end up with a Latu in the later round, and then you go grab a Jared Verse early, or grab a cornerback, the kid from Toledo, early. It's so many routes the Falcons can go, but the quarterback at 8, I'm just going to leave it right there. I don't think it's
I don't see it. And again, you have to consider it. I don't see it as the best second, third, fourth, option, because you have other needs, right? You have other needs, not wants, needs. We need a corner. We need an edge rusher or two, right? Some would argue we may need a safety, maybe a third running back, but those, to me, specifically defensive lineman and corner, would take precedence over a quarterback at 8. Even with Latu, if you draft him, okay, if he plays in the league 5 years, that's the first contract.
Yeah.
And if he fulfilled that, and let's say he's a rock star, well, he did what he was supposed to do, right? So, Baldy certainly knows more than I do. In my opinion, I don't think the Falcons do this. I don't see that as a logical course. But I mean, even if you draft someone, if you draft Penix at 8, you're saying to Kirk Cousins, you're definitely going by year 2. Watch out.
You're saying to Kirk Cousins, the fan base may be calling for that rookie if you don't perform this season the way you need to. And then you throw a young quarterback into the mix, which fans saw the Desmond Ridder, and they don't want to relive these moments again. We are banking on Kurt being healthy this season. A healthy Kurt is going to get us the stats that you saw from Kurt's previous years. The 30 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, the 28 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, the playoff numbers, right? And with this team, you can get over the hump with a healthy Kirk Cousins. So we'll just leave it at that. Baldy, we love your take about what the Falcons could do, but here at One Time for the Fan, I don't think the Falcons will go quarterback. But the chat is live. The chat is lit. Ramel is in the chat. Big shout out to Ramel in the chat. Happy Friday. Hashtag with the One Time for the Fan. Don't forget, throw those emojis around. Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts. We all over the streets here with One Time for the Fan. We're trying to make sure we are in everybody's home. We're trying to make sure we are on every platform that you guys can find One Time for the Fan. Michael's in the chat with the One Time for the Fire. It's going down in a major way. We got AFN in the chat. Maggie T Productions is here in the chat. Good morning, Maggie T, to you as well. Telvin Phelps is in the chat. I'm not buying it because we can't be happy. Because we can't be happy with James Smith-Williams when we get Turner. Here's the deal: you went out and got James Smith-Williams, which we talked about Wednesday night. Kid has a high motor. I like how the Falcons, even weeks before the draft, making a move to go get a guy who can fight to make this roster. And
Right.
we already seen his production with the Commanders. He got an upside to him, right? So let's see this kid work. And go look at the highlight film of James Smith-Williams too as well. He gets after it. He gets after it. Fundamentally sound when it comes to tackles for loss in the backfield, chasing down running backs, getting after the quarterback. He has the vision. And of course, when you're playing with the Commanders, you're playing next to Payne, you're playing next to some of the guys that he had over there. Even Sweat was over there too as well.
Yeah.
Like they had a defensive front over there. Right. Yeah. So you're bringing a guy who now comes to the Falcons with Grady Jarrett, David Amiata, some of these other guys, and then whoever could be this rookie pass rusher if we go get this guy. You're just adding experience. I love that Raheem and Terry is adding experience to this team, right? Mm-hmm. They're not just building it based off of a bunch of rookies and a bunch of one-year guys. Like James Smith-Williams has played in the NFL before. Antonio Hamilton has experience in the NFL before. Even Kevin King, who we're going to talk about here shortly, has experience in the NFL. Bringing back Eddie Goldman, knowing that you need a nose tackle and giving him a shot, a guy who has experience in the NFL. Like, you got to just love what Terry, Raheem, everybody, they're just doing. Like, they're cooking on a whole new level. They've rewarded Zach Robinson with Kirk Cousins. They've rewarded, of course, just the fan base with, I think, an improved roster so far. And now you have to go and possibly reward Jimmy Lake, right? Go get your guy, a defensive guy in this draft, and let's move from there. Terry, chat is live. Chat is lit. Philip Crawford's in the chat. Do y'all think is overall best player available or best player available for our need? Terry?
Good. At Philip, I love it, Philip. You're on it, Philip.
Big shout out, Philip.
I would agree. Best player for our need.
Yes,
I would agree. And even within that, that's going to be tiered because we do need a quarterback. But to Dak's point, we don't need him in the first round. Yeah. So definitely think it's BPA, but that's going to be skewed a bit. Right, but go ahead, Jack. I'll let you answer.
The thing about BPA for Terry is best player available, and let's be real here, Falcon fans. Let's be honest with ourselves. Was Bijan a BPA last season? Was he a need that we definitely needed on this team? If you look at Arthur Smith's scheme of what he wanted to run, and don't forget, Arthur Smith is thinking long term here. He's not thinking we're going to have a losing season after we have this draft and this free agency. We got some money. Brought in Jesse Bates, all this extra shit. Like, you got to look at how the team was trying to be designed through Arthur Smith and then look at it and say, he did put a lot of faith into Desmond Ridder. But if you would have had probably Kirk Cousins on last year's roster, we're going to the playoffs. If Kirk Cousins was healthy from last year, we would have went to the playoffs.
Without a doubt.
Any one of the years that Kirk Cousins had in the past 5 or 6 years, you could have put on this Falcons roster last year. And I could have been the quarterback last year, we would have went to the playoffs. And I throw 80 on the run.
80 on the run, Jack. 80.
So for Falcon fans here in the chat, best player available for me right now, you would have to think. If you get to draft night and it's a safety, let's just say they say safety at number 8. Was that BPA? Let's just say they go offensive tackle at 8. That's BPA? So for your need is what we're looking at here. Edge rusher has been talked about for a while. Drafting a defensive guy in the first round who can just be a future gem here in Atlanta. We're talking about John Abraham type talent, right? We're talking about a guy who's going to have, 10 plus sacks. We need to get a game record in here. And there's a couple guys in the draft right now that you can look and say in the first 15 picks, there's about 3 guys who can get after it. And you kind of want to rebuild this defense in the right way. Now, a fan has put me on game, Terry. I will say, look at your wide receiver room.
Mm-hmm.
And a fan put me on game to say, don't be surprised if it's not, Rome from Washington.
I
wouldn't be mad either because you have a rookie wide receiver who's going to be here, generational talent for the next 4 years plus.
Mm-hmm.
And you're matching him with Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Kirk Cousins. But then again, it shows me in the next 2 years is going to be a new quarterback. And how would that transition into Kyle Pitts and XYZ? Because I think the Falcons really want to ride with Kirk for the next 2 years. And if everything works out well, then they'll keep him here in Atlanta going forward.
There you go.
So that would be the best decision if he's getting you back to the playoffs. And even if he's healthy at 37, healthy at 38. Aaron Rodgers is 40, and the Jets are banking on him to take him to the fucking playoffs right now.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers, coming off an injury, 40 years old. The Jets are banking on him to take him to the playoffs in a division that has Josh Allen, Tua, and I guess the new rookie quarterback that probably the Patriots will be selecting. A 40-year-old quarterback.
Aaron, I go into the dark room for my big quest to Rodgers.
Falcon fans, hit that like.
Still playing at that level, so hey, it can be done.
It can be done. Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Sullivan's in the chat with the shucky ducky.
Shucky ducky.
Larry's in the chat the Dixon way. Good morning, Falcon fans. I think Penix wowed Terry and Coach Raheem socks off in the private workouts, and it smells like they really didn't watch him closely at the combine. When you get Kirko. Hey, big shout out to the Dixon way here in the chat. Fans are voicing their opinions.
It early this morning.
It stirs up the conversation because it's a Friday morning. It gets fans talking. Some fans probably miss what Baldy said, right? And then we bring it up here one time for the fan, like, wait, Baldy's talking about the Falcons going quarterback. Now the conversation today for Quentin Lavender, he might be talking to his friends and say, hey, I heard on one time for the fan that there was an NFL journalist that mentioned that the Falcons may go quarterback. It just stirs up a lot of the conversation, right? And we are Falcon fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday. So when you get those things and you mix it together, it pretty much, it all falls into one. Quentin Lavender's in the chat. He said, good morning, fellas. Rise up.
You.
Eric Parker's in the chat.
LBB, what's up, man? What's up, LBB?
One time with the red and black emojis. I know the West Coast crew is going to be waking up in a minute. I don't even think the sun is up over there just yet. The Dixon Wiz said, when you get Kirko, you are signaling that you are in win now mode, and your 8th pick cannot be a quarterback unless you believe now that Kurt will not be ready before the season, which is problematic in itself. That's why we had Larry on the channel recently, because when you got Falcon fans talking like this, you can hear Larry on his platform too as well. Falcons, Braves, anything. Like, he's a diehard Atlanta Falcons fan, and of course, just a fan of all sports as well. But he does a good breakdown. And when you got Dixon Way at 9 o'clock in the morning talking Falcons football with you, Terry, I think breakfast at one time for the fan is working out well, right? I mean, you get comments like this over Kirk Cousins. I mean, this is big here.
I would agree. I would definitely agree. Absolutely.
Michael's in the chat with the mags.
If I had the soundboard, man, I'd be doing the applause right now. But,
Yeah, that's coming here shortly. Don't worry. Michael said 2 edges: wide receiver, cornerback, safety, and offensive tackle. So Michael's draft board is set up in a way where, as you can see, he got 4 defensive picks right there already, just off of what we're looking at with Michael. For me, I think you do attack the defensive line twice in this draft because there's so much talent. How can you not go wrong? And even let's go off of the Sweat guy from Texas, right? Tavondre Sweat, who had the situation with the DUI, right? Let's go off of that. I understand, Falcons don't play about the off the field issues and so forth. And, Arthur Blank has zero tolerance for people who gets in trouble and so forth. So he's still a game wrecker.
He is.
At the end of the day. So let's just say you was to snag a guy like that. And there have been NFL players who have had problems and have joined NFL teams. And of course, from joining the organization that they play with, things started to settle down, right? I remember there was a couple drafts ago where they tried to bash a couple kids before the draft started, and they tried to lower their draft stock. These kids went on to get drafted and are still playing in the NFL and are respected talent and respected players in the NFL, right? So let's not just look at that and say, the Sweat kid, because he had the DUI, can't be looked at here in Atlanta, because look at his tape, right? How can you not pass up on that type of talent? Look at Fisk from Florida State, right? That is so much talent you have right there. Look at the kid from Wisconsin too as well. You just have so much to look at this draft. But in the first round, I'm all for going with an edge rusher. Terry, chat is live. Chat is lit. Mackie T Production says, give the fellas a like, share, and subscribe. Tag your Falcons friends. Tell your Falcons family. We got so much going on here with One Time for the fan. The Dixon way also in the chat with, if we draft Penix, it means Kirk isn't going to be ready for at least the first 6 games of the season. If we sign this dude with a shaky injury report, with the shaky rehab update, that is problematic. Terry, quickly, your thoughts on that.
When he says, in regards to Kurt and game 1. I mean, I understand that technology has advanced and people are doing things that they couldn't do before, but, a torn Achilles is still a torn Achilles.
Mm-hmm.
So to the extent that he is not ready, it's okay. There's no need to panic. But we do need a suitable replacement. So I'm not upset if Kirk is not ready. I'm not upset if Kirk doesn't finish the first 2 games. Or is it that, because again, you'd rather him be here for the long haul than try and push it and be out for an extended period of time. So, I'm not, because again, you're talking about an Achilles, right? So I don't know that it's realistic. I mean, when did he tear it? Let's go back. He tore it. Was it January or December?
No, he tore it back in like week 6 of last year, 6 or 7.
I thought he played 8 games.
Yeah, like 8 games. Yeah, he played like halfway through the season.
So that would be week 9, right? So
around there, like mid-October, like October, November. Yeah. Yeah,
October, November. So yeah, I mean, it used to be an Achilles tear was a definite year.
Mm-hmm.
So no, if he misses the first 2 games, I'm okay with it. Now, it does beg the question, do we need to draft a quarterback? And I think we do, but we also need to make sure Taylor's ready. But you can't. There's the world we live in. There's the world we want it to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the world we want it to be, we obviously want Kirk to start. But again, if he can't the first couple of games, I'm okay with it. We have him for 4 years. If he has to take a few off to really make sure he's at 100%, I'm okay with that. I think that's play. And I think this team is good enough to win 12 games.
Yeah. Yeah. Falcon fans, hit the like, hit the share, hit that subscribe button. Breakfast with One Time for the Fan. Falcon fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday. Once again, we are closing around that 1,000 subscriber mark. So it takes everybody. It takes a village. Tag your Falcons friends. Tell your Falcons family. Terry, you there? You good? Just want to make sure you're good.
Jack. Sorry about that. I'm here.
Good?
Sorry about that.
Dwayne reference in the chat said One Time for the One Time. Good morning. This show is going to be lit in 2 weeks. Yes, we have a live draft show going on here, One Time for the Fan, just for day 1, right? We have a live draft show. We got a lot of special guests going to be joining us for that show too as well, talking Falcons football with us, get some live reactions to some of the picks that's going to be happening in the NFL. And then, of course, when the Falcons pick, we'll get our live reaction too as well. So it's usually about 2.5, 3 hour type of podcast. So make sure you're here. There's going to be a lot of other content creators too as well going live. We got some people checking in from the draft. We got some people checking in at the Benz. We're going to be all over the place, right? With One Time for the Fans. So tell your Falcons friends and tell your Falcons family about One Time for the Fans live draft show going on for day 1. Dwayne Ruffin said 6 a.m. Let's get it. Here comes the West Coast crowd now. They are waking up now.
Let's get it.
What's going on? Yay. Dun, 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 dun. You know how that shit is. Kirk Cousins at the Masters?
Yeah.
I didn't know he was a fan of golf. Might have to invite Kerr out for a quick 9 holes, man. Because, as a golf fan myself, I must say that I've watched it for years. I've enjoyed it. Tiger Woods and, of course, Phil Mickelson and some of these names that you heard for over the years. But now playing it, being a part of the sport, spending money on clubs and gear, getting out to these courses and meeting some of these golf guys. You know what I'm saying? Those golf guys. You know what I'm saying? The ones that got country club access and private course access. You really get a chance to meet a whole new group of, not only because I met some Falcon fans out there too as well golfing, right? But you also get to meet a group of individuals who they're a part of this culture where golf is just it's a professional sport, right? It's like a basketball is different. Like you can get out there. If you go to LA Fitness right now, right, you might not be able to get a 5-on-5. You know what I'm saying? You might go to the courts right now down the street. You might not be able to get a 3-on-3 or a 5-on-5 because you don't know who's out there, right? Golf is different. You can grab your clubs. You can head out there to the course. You can play a whole 9 or 18 holes by yourself, right? So big shout out to Kirk Cousins because he was down at the Masters and they were talking to him about the Atlanta Falcons and, of course, his vision for the team. But some of the things that we heard Kirk mention in this report, he mentioned the San Francisco 49ers, Terry. He mentioned how they have to be, the Falcons, have to be just as good as the 49ers to be on those ranks of making it to the playoffs. Matter of fact, you might even have to beat the 49ers along the lines of the playoffs to make it to the next level. That is what we talk about here on the channel when teams are set up for success and other teams in the NFL know it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Chiefs. You don't think Jim Harbaugh is getting over there with LA and saying, we have to find a way to beat the Chiefs. They are back-to-back champions. We got to play them twice a year. Same for the Raiders with Antonio Pierce. And to hear Kirk Cousins' comments, because he mentions here, switching to football, Cousins was asked, and big shout out to Savion Mixon with the Sporting News too as well. Savion has been on the channel. He is now reporting for the Sporting News. And of course, we'll get Savion back on the channel, but he covers Atlanta Falcons football too as well. So switching to football, Cousins was asked about his time in Atlanta thus far as he's getting used to the new digs and new teammates. He talked about the new talent and staff and new teammates in Atlanta, how he's been working for the past 2 weeks to get ready for the season. Don't forget, he did mention in an interview earlier this year that he should be ready to go by camp, right? Cousins also acknowledged that they must get past Kittle and the 49ers, the recent NFC champions, to get anywhere in the playoffs. Some would say, well, Cousins, you're speaking out there too far into existence because it could be the Cowboys, it could be the Packers, it could be the Seahawks. But we do know that the 49ers have been to the playoffs the past couple of years, and they are a tough team to beat. But for Kirk to even vision down the line that the team has to be good enough to go and beat that team, I think Falcon fans, you're in for a treat this year when we get the matchup that could be a divisional playoff game, a wild card game, or even the NFC championship where it's the Falcons probably versus the 49ers, and we beat them, we take them down. There's only one person to go take down the Chiefs, and that's Kirk Cousins. That's the Atlanta Falcons. Terry, your thoughts on Kirk Cousins at the Masters? And I'm watching some Masters coverage too as well from yesterday. But your thoughts on Kirk Cousins at the Masters, speaking of how the team has to be good now, but he's already visioning we get good enough to go beat the 49ers. Punch your ticket. Hashtag punch your ticket. Anything's possible. Your thoughts on Kirk Cousins' comments?
I think the 49ers are the standard. I think the 49ers are the standard. And, guess what? In order to be the best, you have to beat the best. In order to get to where you need to be right now, all roads go through San Francisco. Whether you go to the Super Bowl, I think they've been to the Super Bowl or the NFC Championship maybe 4 or 5 of the, past 6 years. So,
it's kind of like the AFC with the Chiefs. You got to go and beat the Chiefs. You want to make it. Yeah.
Correct. So one would argue if you wish to get to the Super Bowl, if you wish to get to NFL Valhalla, you're going to have to go through the 49ers. And he's setting the expectation. Hey,
I like that one. That was a good one right there. Valhalla. That was a good one, Terry. Like how you snuck that one in. Everybody's listening, though. We're paying attention.
We try, man. I watched Thor the other night. No, but Valhalla's Viking heaven. Anyway, I think he's setting the standard. Yeah. I think he's saying, look, guys, if we want to get to where we need to be, this, and he's setting it early. If we want to get to where we need to be, what up, dear? We need to set this standard early. We need to set this expectation early. We're not just going out there to play. We're going out there to beat the best and get to the Super Bowl. And he has established that as the 49ers. And I am 138% behind him. Because why else do we play this game, right? To quote, who was it? Whatever coach he said, Herman Edwards, you play to win the game, right? Yeah. So, hey, if you're trying to get to the Super Bowl, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have to go through the 49ers. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it. He wasn't saying that we're definitely going to go out and, beat the what out of them. He's saying if we want to get to where we need to be, we have to play on their level. We have to beat them. We have to be able to beat them. And I think, look, you play to win the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So you may as well take on and you may as well set your standard to be the best team in the NFL. And to do that, you got to beat the best team. So I'm good with it. I'm
And
fine with it.
he didn't mention the Vikings. He didn't
Right.
mention the Giants.
Right.
He didn't mention the Seahawks. He didn't mention the Rams. He didn't mention the Cardinals. He mentioned the team, like as you said, Terry, has been to the playoffs the past couple years consecutively and has made it to the NFC Championship game or has made a run in the playoffs. You may see them along the way to reach your goal of making the playoffs.
Probably will.
He didn't say
He
the Packers.
will.
Just don't forget the Packers had their 1 year run last year with Jordan Love. This wasn't a thing that's just been consistent like last year, the year before. This is a thing where Kirk Cousins sees that the team that's been most consistent in the NFC
is the 49ers.
Is the 49ers. And you may have to see them along the way. So for him to set his high standards for this team, and he hasn't thrown a pass in the NFL, but Brock Purdy has. Kittle has caught some touchdowns. Kyle Shanahan has been coaching that team. For him to set his standards on saying, we can get there. Raheem's comments the other day about punching your ticket. Do you not hear this, Falcon fans? They are preparing you for success. And I'm here for it. I'm all for it. And Kirk is talking like this at the Masters. I wanted to see Kirk's backswing too as well. Because I know I'm working on mine right now on that my 7-iron. So I didn't know I was getting ready to see Kirk, at least, hit a couple at the range. But I'm guessing that, Falcon's going to, keep him under wraps right now. But the Masters is a great time of the year where, it's springtime. You get a chance to watch sports in the middle of the day. And of course, for a lot of fans here, you are home this weekend. Check out the Masters today. I think Bryson DeChambeau did a great job yesterday. Bryson DeChambeau is one of the strongest swingers in the golf sport. I think he has the longest drive too as well. So he's leading the way right now. Tiger Woods played good yesterday too as well. And then of course, I got my guys Ricky Fowler, Jordan Spieth, and Ashley Bactia. But it's day 2 right now, and even if you hear like some of the reporters about the Masters, like Terry, you know how tough it is to get to the Masters, like to get a ticket for the Masters, right? Difficult. It's a tough deal. It's very difficult. And once you become a part of getting tickets for the Masters and a part of that culture, you can live in that culture for a very long time. Like I have some people that's at the Masters right now too as well. And guess where I met them? On the golf course, right? And these are people that's invited me to private courses, and we was actually blessed the other day to get invited to go play Eagles Landing, which is 18 holes over there in McDonough, which is
that's not too far from me.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a great time. You probably want to come out there, man. We'll go ahead and
you may get me out there. I wanted to go back to Kirk Cousins, and the reason I like what he said is because it shows vision.
Yes,
right?
It shows vision.
And vision is a word that we often use, but few of us really take the time to really analyze what vision means, right? Because vision is a part of another word, which is provision. Provision, the act of providing, meaning you can't provide without what? A vision. You can't provide monetary gains without a vision. You can't provide a championship without a vision. You first have to see it. You got to see, okay, what are my obstacles? Who's going to give me the greatest fight? I need to prepare for them. And the fact that you're thinking about that right now and training camp hasn't even started, I can dig that, because that shows that he's on that level. Before you can be it, you have to what? You got to see it, right? I'll say it again. Before you can be it, right, you got to see it. Before you can be a championship. Before you can be a champion, before you can be a quarterback, before you can be an NFL player, you have to see it. So he's already thinking championship. Raheem is already thinking championship, right? Zach Robinson is already thinking championship.
They've been champions before. They can do it again.
There you go, right? So I like it from that perspective. I really do. Because he's identifying to his teammates, we're going to play up here, guys. Week 1, wherever that is, whoever that's against, the standard is here. It's not even about who we play. The standard is here. that's what we're playing, and that's where we're going, and that's what we're coming for. So
championship football is where Raheem came from with the Rams. Even the comment that he made with Pat McAfee, where they were talking about, I guess, a former coach or a former player that was with Raheem, and Raheem turns and he laughs and says, "Oh, we didn't do nothing but just win a Super Bowl together."
there you go.
And it was the part where even I laughed and I was like, huh, "Oh shit, I can't wait to say that." But you're hearing it from a coach, and I know we had Dan Quinn. I know some people say we had Dan Quinn. He was a Super Bowl winning coach. But Raheem's chemistry, Raheem's formula, who Raheem is as a person, I think overweighs Dan Quinn. And he just looks at what Mike Tomlin talked about, right? It looks at what these NFL players have talked about. It looks at what a lot of people in the NFL media has talked about with Raheem getting this head coaching job. He deserves it. The time is now for the Falcons to have a guy like Raheem, and you're going to get championship football. But to know you get Kurt and some of these guys before you even get a chance to step on the field, set the standard up here mentally.
Yeah.
Set the standard up here mentally before you get a chance to step on the field. That's what it's all about here when we talk Falcons football. One time for the fan talking Falcons football. I'm sorry, Falcon fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday. Hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button, run the subscribers up, run the questions up, run the comments up. We'll be back here Sunday night with Out of Your Falcon Mind. Two diehard content creators who have been doing this for a while. They talk great NFL football and, of course, Falcons football more than that. But they're going to be here with us Sunday night talking about the draft, talking about the Falcons offseason. And we're going to try to keep it an hour show, but we know with John and Mike alone can keep the conversation going for more than 2 or 3 hours because he just has the energy. He has the juice when it comes to talking Falcons. He's like he's your ultimate fan, right? And that's when you're talking to Mike. And then you get John. It's like, whoa, calm down, Mike. Calm down, Mike. Let me tell you who I am. I'm John. Like, John gets in here and just starts dropping facts. And then when you put the two together, when you're looking at Out of Your Falcon Mind, you're looking at a great combo of content creators who can talk Falcons football. And that's what it's all about. There's a whole group of content creators out here who can talk Falcons football, and they do it well. And that's what it's all about when you're in this Falcons community. Raymond Collins in the chat. MW, the franchise players in the chat. Dixon Wade, Dwayne Ruffins in the chat. Chat is live. Chat is lit. Breakfast with One Time for the Fan. Raymond Collins says, good morning, One Time. What it do, fellas? Big shout out to Raymond Collins, too, as well.
Raymond.
We do have another giveaway coming up. Raymond Collins, the first group of people that had their first giveaway, should be receiving their gifts in probably a matter of days. I think 2 have already received their gifts, and then we're going to go ahead and get to Raymond Collins. Alberto has his on the way, and I think by draft night or day 2, we're going to go ahead and have another giveaway here in the chat. We want fans to enjoy One Time for the Fan. We want fans to talk about One Time for the Fan. And, of course, we want fans to rep the Atlanta Falcons the right way, in the positive way, because we all want to win here. The Dixon Way said, never liked playing golf, but always watched. I'm watching right now on my TV as I watch you guys on my phone. But, yeah, I can't play golf. Basketball, football, baseball, bowling, yes. I was one, and I have some friends that can tell you. When I was starting playing golf, it was tough. Even to learn to get the swing down, get the form down, get the art down, to just hit the ball was tough as shit, right? And you go and you look at Rory McIlroy, Fowler, some of these players, Tiger Woods, and you look at why they're professionals. It goes to football too as well. We can talk all that shit about being, oh, this guy should have did this technique and use his hands here. Go and play the game. Go out there on the field and do it. Same thing I look at when I see golf. I'm watching chip shots right now from Rory. I'm working on my chip shots right now. Rory's getting paid millions of dollars to do what I just saw on TV, which is an art that he doesn't have to do it with 5, 10, 15, 20 people or a coach. You can do that on your own. So golf is a great game, you know, and for Kirk Cousins to be at the Masters. I'm sure there's other Falcon players or coaches at the Masters because it's the offseason. Terry, quickly, what are some of the fun things that we need to do during the offseason? Let's enlighten some fans here on everybody's so focused on football, Falcons. What are some things that fans can do during the offseason to just take some time away from football and just enjoy other things? Give us some things that fans can do this offseason.
Well, obviously, there's Atlanta United. They're the Braves, the Hawks. Of course, there's putt-putt. As you know, you are so in love with golf, so I'll keep it to in the context of what our host is in love with right now. There's a few golf places you can go to. Uh, you know, few shows you can watch. Maybe some family get-togethers. I mean, there's so much to do. I would say movies. Do people still go to the movies? I don't know. I guess they do.
I think I saw a movie theater the other day. Don't know if it's still open or closed or not, but it wasn't Blockbuster. I can tell you that.
There's there's shopping. There's online shopping. There's bowling. So if you guys from work want to get together and bowl, and I've told them that they will be my victims. Now, quite candidly, I suck at bowling, but you know how it is when guys get together. I just have to talk. But there's bowling. I mean, there's a litany of things to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's a litany of things to do. You know what else you could do?
Mm-hmm.
You could take up collecting jerseys,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which is a segue to Kirk was number 8 with Minnesota, and I always wondered what was the story with why he did not take Kyle's jersey. And maybe I shouldn't say take, but don Kyle's jersey because Kyle definitely seemed open to it, right? And just in watching an interview, it looked like in order for Kirk to actually take or claim Kyle's jersey,
Yeah.
the NFL got involved, and Kirk would have had to buy out
All the jerseys from Kyle
all of the jerseys for sale, which was like a couple of $100,000. Now, I did not know this.
Which he has the money.
Oh, of course he
has the money. Before the Falcons, before the Vikings,
yeah,
he has the money.
He definitely has the money. He did. But here's the thing, right? This is the first time I'm hearing of this.
Yes.
Because I've seen players go to other teams and just take on the jersey, and it's fine. And maybe this is something that they've always done. You know, I don't know, but it was like, wow, I did not know that took place. Like, so, you know, Jack, I know you're 80 on the run, but let's say you play for the Falcons and I'm coming to the Falcons and I want that. I have to buy out all of your jerseys. Well, I'm good, you know, because we know your jerseys would sell like hotcakes. But
I mean, they're selling right now. Matter of fact, there's no more online or in store. So don't know where you're going to be able to get one. But yeah, those jerseys, man, they sell like hotcakes. But to hear Kirk say that he didn't want to spend a bunch of money to take, you know, the number from Kyle, it also just shows that, you know, there's a teamwork there. You know, there's a bond there between the players. I think we still haven't really confirmed if, you know, Kyle and Kurt were talking in the offseason and, you know, chatting with each other and so forth. And it's just good to know that, you know, when Kurt got here, even in the interview, you can hear it. He's talked about looking at how to get Kyle Pitts involved. Remember, we posted the picture in the chat about Pitts saying, well, get me more touchdowns, you get the number, you know, that type of thing. And it's just good to see that even when Kurt's talking to Shaq on his podcast, that the Falcons are just being mentioned in so many ways here. It's bringing content for us because, like Berto said right here about Brian Baldinger's comments about selecting a quarterback. Berto, when we end the podcast, go back and watch the first take that we did when we started the podcast. The first take was about Baldy's comments about selecting Penix. And then we went over that too as well. It's difficult to say here at number 8 if they would, but you know, it will be a shocker if you ask me.
I don't think they will.
Yeah,
I don't think they will. For the record, Berto, I'm saying I think it's clickbait. I think it's something to just stir the pot and keep interest going. And I don't see there being a foundational element to this story. I just don't.
Well, Berto has a bigger vision than what he's mentioning here, and he's not telling everybody here in the chat. But Berto selected Penix in his mock draft that we did. We did a panel here with a bunch of other content creators, and Berto selected Penix. And the other day, one of the Falcons journalists selected Penix too as well, and Berto just took that shit and ran with it. And I feel you, Berto. I feel you, Berto. Let me tell you something. Berto called me one day. I told you about Kirk Cousins. We were talking about Fields. We were talking about Russell Wilson. We were talking about different quarterbacks, drafting guys. Berto called me one day. I was at work, and he just gave me a full like a podcast. Like I was a fan in the chat, and I was listening to Berto talk on the phone about Kirk Cousins and why he believes Kirk Cousins is going to be the guy. And sure enough, weeks later, it was Kirk Cousins too as well. But for the Baldy's comments, I'm kind of not going with the quarterback issue right now. But for Kirk Cousins with the jersey and Kyle Pitts wanted to get more touchdowns this year, and Kirk Cousins didn't want to buy up the number. It's actually good to see that there was no argument about it or
not
upset
at all
about it. So that's actually good to see. And it's a
didn't
bond.
Berto, I'm sorry.
But good.
Didn't Berto take Penix in the second round in that draft?
He did, but now you're hearing, because don't forget, there's 3 teams behind the Falcons that's like, we're unsure of our quarterback.
Yeah.
No, Gardner Minshew has time in the NFL with the Raiders. He's played on the Colts. He's played with the Jags. So even for Gardner Minshew, he's looking at it like the Raiders may go and get Penix, and it's going to be a QB battle here.
Yeah, I'm no longer of the opinion that Penix will go. I think you'll have 6 quarterbacks in the
I think
first.
he's gone. He's gone before the second round. Penix is gone before the second round.
Too. I think Bo Nix is gone as well. I think you'll have 6.
JJ possibly. Bo.
I think JJ's going. I think JJ is going. Yeah. I do. I think there are enough teams that need quarterbacks to where, looking at what's out there on the market, you couldn't do worse. Yeah. I shouldn't. Forgive me. I'm sorry.
We'll go over it again. We got so much time here.
I don't play the game. So with that being said, I think that the skill sets, a better way of saying that would be that the skill sets are at least equal, right? Yeah. And maybe they're looking at these quarterbacks that are going to be drafted. Maybe they could work with them and develop them. But I no longer feel. I think all 6 will go in the first round. I think the first 3 will go in the first 3 spaces. And I think someone will be desperate enough to trade up with the Falcons. They may trade above the Falcons. They may trade above the Falcons, and the Giants may take someone, right?
It's possible.
So if the Giants take someone, that's 4. That only leaves 2. And I definitely, I think all 6 will go. So,
hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Go ahead, Terry.
No, it's fine. I just think, especially in the case of drafting someone versus signing an existing quarterback out there, if the skill set's the same, it's just good fiscal responsibility, right? It's better value. And speaking of value, Jack, you and I were talking about Eddie Goldman and Kevin King and their signings, right? And they have 2 things in common. One, they both took at least 1 year off here recently. And 2, they were both signed for the veteran minimum. Now, here's the thing, right? These were once very good players. Mm-hmm. And I think, in my humble opinion, that Terry F. Baby, as we so affectionately refer to him, is taking a page out of Alex Anthopoulos, the GM for the Braves, book. Because Alex does this all the time. Alex will get a player who maybe just coming back from injury or, had a bad season, and sign him, and he'll do great with our team because they've done the research, right? They've looked at the numbers and they've deduced that within this situation, in the right set of circumstances, this guy can be productive. Mm-hmm. I bring it up to say that I think these are very good moves, and they're very good moves. They're value moves, right? Because when you look at it, it's really about the numbers. If Eddie Goldman can give you a year, right, and say get you 2 sacks and wreak havoc and stop the run, and your run defense is top 5 or whatever, you've gotten all that you've paid him and more. Mm-hmm. If Kevin King, he doesn't even have to start. You're paying him the league minimum, right? If he comes in and spells you, right? Let's say he starts a couple of games. If he makes a couple of interceptions, you've already reaped the benefits, and you signed him, but you signed him for value, right? Like, let's look at Dak. And I'm not harping on Dak. He's just good for this example. You sign somebody for $60 million, fair or not, if they do not deliver a championship, it's pretty much a failure, right? Mm-hmm. For the value, for the percentage of the cap, for the value, if you are not, $60 million is a lot. Mm-hmm. So if I'm paying somebody $60 million in the life of that contract, you better get me one. Fair or not? So the converse of that is these league minimum contracts, especially when you look at the PFF ratings of these guys when they play, these are not slouches.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, in my humble opinion, these signings may do more for us than what we think, but I'd love to hear your opinion. Go ahead.
Terry has done a great job with some of these 1-year deal guys in Atlanta ever since he's got here, and that helped out with the cap space for what we had to do. Don't forget, we was going through a cap hell, right? So a lot of these 1-year deal guys still was able to put an impact on the field because we wasn't 5 or 6 games away from the playoffs when Terry got here. We were 2, I think, with Matt Ryan. We went down to the end of the season where I think the Buffalo game or one of those games we had went into going to like week 16, 17, where we were 2 games away from the playoffs on a cap space situation that was rough, on a situation where, we didn't have the talent that we wanted because of the money. And then the following year, of course, with Mariota, once again, even making the switch there, we went down to the end of the season where when Ritter got in, we still had an opportunity to make the playoffs, right? So a bunch of 1-year deal guys there year before. And then the year after when Ritter once again took over as quarterback, we did have some money, but then we brought in some 1-year deal guys who I think right now Falcon fans can say there's some you want to keep and some you want to let go. Eddie Goldman, Kevin King, they did the research on these 2 guys.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I know they've been out of the league since 2021 and so forth. But if you do get the Kevin King from when he was playing in the NFL, and if you do get your 2019 Eddie Goldman, you're adding 2 depth pieces that have, once again, experience in the NFL. And they're going to be coachable too as well. Like you're putting them with Jimmy Lake, right? You're putting them with Jerry Gray, right? Jay Rogers. Both of those players have experience with some of our coaches here. Let's not forget that. Some of the coaches on our coaching staff have been with Kevin King before. Same for Eddie Goldman. So if you get people that can talk to him, if you get a bunch of people like, let's just say Eric Parker, for instance, right? You might send 20 people to go talk to Eric Parker over the past couple of weeks or months about, his take on the NFL. And he don't want to hear that shit. 20 random people. But you get somebody that Eric Parker knows to go talk to him, he going to sit down with you. He going to listen to you because he knows that person, right? He feels a little bit more comfortable. Maybe Eddie Goldman felt comfortable with the Jay Rogers, with the Raheem Morris to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give it my go this year. King too as well. He has relationships with Jerry Gray and Jimmy Lake. Why didn't the Falcons go out and get somebody else if it wasn't Kevin King?
Right.
This has been talked about in-house.
Right.
You think they randomly said, let's close your eyes, pick this guy. Okay, we'll sign him. No. Yeah. The Falcons have talked about this. What can Eddie Goldman do for this team? Well, he took 2 years off and XYZ. Well, let me tell you right now, I just talked to him on the phone. Teams will talk. That's how they talk about their players. We're not in that room to hear the behind the scenes talk. Mm-hmm. They might value King as this guy has a spot to be our 3rd or 4th corner on this team. Mm-hmm. They might value Eddie Goldman to say this little joker right here who's been off for 2 years might start if he makes it past camp. He might start in this joker. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Get hella reps. Not even starting. Get more than 40% reps. Which is actually pretty decent for Eddie Goldman coming off of 2 years of not playing football.
Absolutely. 100%. I think, though, it speaks to an outside of the box thinking that says, okay, we have a need here, but let's see if we can go over here where we can get greater value. Because as a GM in this ever-changing sports world where finances are escalating out the wazoo, you have to get value. Right? You have to get value. And again, there are a lot of contracts that work out. There's some who don't. Look at Daniel Jones, $40 million a year. How's that working out? How is that working out?
Working out what we've heard in the offseason, the Giants may even go quarterback.
There you go. And guess what? I think a certain percentage of his contract is guaranteed. So they still have to pay him. Right? So in this ever-changing sports climate, you better know what you're doing when you're assigning these contracts.
Big shout out to Anthony White as
You
well.
really want to make sure you get value. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jet.
No, you good. Everybody here in the chat is pretty much thinking the same thing of getting value for two players who haven't played in the NFL for a couple years. And I know fans want to see Kevin King, do good things in the NFL. I know fans are like, let Eddie Goldman do great things in the NFL, because when he was signed here a couple years ago, fans had that Eddie Goldman feeling like, this is the guy from Chicago that's been wreaking havoc on that D-line. That's what we need. And then he went away. Then he came back, and then he went away. Anthony White said Eddie Goldman got more lives than a cat. Shit.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
I don't trust the man until he makes it to game one and through a season. Man, keep
Agreed.
quitting. So how is he still on the team? We will see.
Agreed.
Anthony White is a fan. He has concerns over Eddie Goldman. Same like JR from Pound for Pound said, when that Georgia Heat hits him, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So
but honestly, if he doesn't make it, Jack, you're not really out. You're not out any money.
You're not out of it. You have Lakel London, who was on the team from last year. You have Kadarius Street that you can plug. Grady Jarrett, David Amiati. You're probably going to go get a tackle or a nose tackle in the draft. So it's not like Eddie Jarrett Eddie Goldman. It's not like Eddie Goldman has to be this guy to make the team. Terry's not banking on it to say that. They just want to see value from some of these players.
Correct.
And I think you can still get an Eddie Goldman type player in the draft if he can't fulfill his promises to the team this year.
His name's Sweat.
I mean, there's a couple guys. We could have did a draft right now and brought up a couple interior defensive linemen that fans would have said, get him. Because once you do the mocks and you see the interior defensive lineman, you forget all about Eddie Goldman when you see Sweat. You forget all about Eddie Goldman when you see Fisk from Florida State. When you see Christian Boyd, when you see some of these players, it's like, get him now, right? So Falcon fans, I know some is on the Eddie Goldman boat. Some is not on the Eddie Goldman boat. Matter of fact, Terry, let's do it again. Put a bunch of Falcon fans in the room. Everybody, if everybody's a Falcon fan, everybody raise their hand. Everybody's going to raise their hand. Everybody, if you're a Falcon fan that believes the team can win this year, raise your hand. Everybody's going to raise their hand. If you believe that Eddie Goldman's going to make it to week one, step to the right. You're going to get a bunch of people standing in the middle and a couple people stepping to the right. If you believe Eddie Goldman would not make it to week one, step to the left. You're going to get a shit ton of people stepping to the left because they remember the past 2 years.
Probably, yeah. And justifiably so.
Any situation you can do this for. You can do it for the helmets. You can do it for the fans. You can do it for the food in the stadium. You can do it for the mascot. Who likes Freddie the Falcon? Step to the right. All right. Who doesn't like Freddie the Falcon? Step to the left. You can do this for any topic when it comes to the Falcon fans, because it's for any NFL teams, for any NFL fan base. They all have these situations to deal with. Right?
Yeah.
Players that have to stay, players that's going to be going, players to keep, players not to keep, players that fans wanted, players that fans don't want, media talking, fan talking, community chats talking, minority owners talking, people around, your golf buddies, your billionaire friends talking. It's so much that you can get when you're dealing with an NFL team like the Atlanta Falcons or any other NFL team. But for Anthony White, he wants to see it happen. He don't want to hear that. Nah, it's cool that he's back, but make it happen. Show me something.
I get it. I agree. But the beautiful thing about it is, if he doesn't work out, it's a very low risk, high reward investment. And if you're going to field a championship team, yes, you're going to have to sign some big money guys, but you're going to have to do deals like this and get production from guys like this to balance it out. So from that perspective, I like it. I really do.
If you're looking at a 3-year deal worth $14 million for Eddie Goldman, I have concerns.
Agreed.
If you're looking at a 2-year deal for $10 million, I have concerns.
Agreed.
So it's something to look at, to where the Falcons did this signing to say, we'll give him a shot.
Right.
We'll see what he does. But guess what? There's probably going to be a rookie that we're going to draft who's going to be on this team.
100%. And right, and they'd be wise to do so. I agree. I agree with you. Yeah, I agree.
Woo. Falcon fans, hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button. Breakfast with One Time for the Fan. Falcon fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday. I'll be out the country coming up, so there will be no Breakfast with One Time for the Fan. Matter of fact, this Sunday will be the last show before we have our Wednesday show. Right before the draft, which would be super lit, man, because we're going to have some people here draft night talking Falcons football with us. So it's going to be great. But today we did talk about Baldy, his comments about, the Falcons drafting a quarterback. We kind of believe that it sounds good, but for BPA of what our need is, it's tough to say it's the quarterback right now. Big shout out to Berto in the chat too as well. Kirk at the Masters making his comments about having the vision, setting the standard high to go beat one of the top teams in the NFC right now before he's even thrown a pass to Drake London, before he's even given a handoff to Bijan Robinson, before he's even talked to his offensive lineman in the huddle. He's already visioning that the team can be just as good as the San Francisco 49ers too as well. So big shout out to Draco Kurt at the Masters talking football down there. Fun things to do in the offseason. Don't just focus on everything the Falcons are doing right now and just, it's taking up your day and it's taking up your time. You can't eat right. You can't sleep right. No, you need to be out here enjoying some vacation time, get out there with the family, either play some golf, go to the gym more, do some workout, something that you can do, learn how to cook, you can go do some culinary arts classes, you can, like you said, like Terry said, collect jerseys. Some people in the chat said watch more X-Men 97, which I think X-Men 97
there you go. I can dig
fans that grew up on X-Men. X-Men 97 is showing a lot into the Marvel universe. So some fans can take this off season to do other things. Go to see the Hawks. I think the Hawks have a playing game coming up against the Bulls, right? So get a chance to see the Hawks. There's the Braves going on right now, which they had a disappointing loss yesterday. I don't know how the hell you let the Mets score 16-something runs, but go see the Braves.
The picture they had was from the minors, and I'm not going to
tell you the time I threw 15 strikeouts in the I don't want to get there. It could take up too much time. But go see a
20.
Braves game.
I heard it was 20.
20?
I heard it was 20. Yeah, I heard
20 Ks.
Struck out 20 people. Yeah, 20 people. Yeah.
Falcon fans, get out.
In 7 innings of work, you didn't even finish the game.
Well, they pulled me in the 4th. So
no, they pulled you in the 7th. You needed at least 7 to strike out 20, right? So that they pull you. They pull you in the 7th. You know what I mean? Reluctantly, because you were on a roll, but they wanted to save you for the next game because it was going to be important, right? So that's why they, right? Yeah,
I guess it's being added to the whole list of things. The 80 on the run, 75 points.
Oh man, 75 points.
Inning. The 3 goals I scored on
10 goals. 10 goals.
Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Fun things to do in the off season. Six Flags is open. Go swimming. Yeah. Spend time with the family. Disney World, card parties, spades. Hang out, go to a lounge or two, or do something to take your time away from just focusing on Falcons and focusing on the NFL, right? You're going to get the notifications anyway. Eddie Goldman, Kevin King, latest signings, the vet minimum, the value signings that Terry gave them. They have to go in here and prove it. It's a prove it type of money. If it would have been a bigger deal, we would have some concerns, but it's a prove it type of situation for both of them. And of course, going to the draft, we can still draft a corner and draft an interior defensive lineman even after re-signing these two. So it's going to be a big competition battle coming up here in a matter of weeks when camp starts. Why Kurt didn't take Kyle's number? He had the money to pay for everything, but he did not want to do it. And we got to get a big shout out to Kurt and Kyle and everybody, man, because they want to win, so jersey number or who doesn't get the right number or the wrong number, it doesn't matter. Go out there and win, right? And Kurt has set his standards, and of course the team standards pretty high, just like Raheem Morris has done too as well. Falcon fans, once again, hit that like, hit that share, hit that subscribe button. It's about talking Falcons football with you all. This has been great on a Falcons Friday. Once again, Falcon fans talking Falcons football on a Falcons Friday. We're going to continue this going in the next couple of weeks too as well. So be in tune with that. Of course, Sunday, Out of Your Falcon Mind will be here talking Falcons football with us. Terry, shout outs before we get up out of here, sir.
Yes, sir. Shout out to my mom. Keep fight. Love you, Mom. Love you with all my heart. Thank God for waking me up this morning. Shout out to the fans, our wonderful fans of this chat, our wonderful Falcons fans. Hey, you guys are the reason we do this. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and all that you give and your support. And that's all day, every day. Hey, Jack, shout out to you. Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate Bodie. Appreciate Chase. Appreciate Kiki for starting this show and giving me a platform to come in here. And as long as you keep inviting me back, I'll keep coming. And brother, in all seriousness, for those of you who do not know Jack from State Farm, one of the most giving people I've ever met in my life, giving of his time, giving of opportunities, giving of wisdom, and just a good human being. So with that being said, sir, I'm going to defer to you. Go right ahead.
Hey, look, Falcon fans, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Got a long day ahead of me too, as well. So I'm about to go ahead and get my day started. Um, yeah, we just want to say thank you to all the fans here in the chat, everybody who's been watching and listening to One Time for the Fan, Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast. Just Google us. We're pretty much everywhere. We just want to make sure that everybody just enjoys the content. We keep bringing special guests to the channel. We have a lot more special guests coming up to the channel. A lot of brand new special guests, first timers here that's going to be joining the channel right after the draft too as well. So it's great that everybody's been excited to talk with One Time for the Fan, and we got some pretty cool special guests coming up. So it's going to be fun that everybody's just enjoying the time that we have here in the off season. We have a scheduled release show that's going to be happening next month. We're actually doing a scheduled release party too as well for the Rise Up Tour group because for those that do not know, like, we're really taking off to the next level. We're going into our 6th year doing this. So definitely get your memberships. You can use One Time for the Fan, OTFTF, at the checkout to your promo code to get a discount for your membership. But the meeting that we had the other day with some people in Vegas, I can't even give them a date. You're talking on the phone with them, and we did a virtual call. I had a chance to speak with them, and you're planning these things, and they're like, all right, so everything's good. What's the date? And it's like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But you put things in place where fans are going to feel good about what's getting ready to happen this offseason. But yes, we have a scheduled release. We have a draft show, day one party. We have a scheduled release party and podcast too as well. And it's just going to be exciting for fans. So if you are going to a game this year, an away game, not home games, if you're going to an away game this year and you want to be a part of something special, we do have a lot of events that we put on out of town. So for Falcon fans that want to be a part of something, join the Rise Up Tour group. We are well over, I think, 1,300 members now in our group, and we're going to continue to grow and take it to the next level. So the Dixon Way is here in the chat. Big shout out to the Dixon Way. So if you aren't watching X-Men 97, you better be watching Shogun. 3 Dirties in the chat. Good morning, Falcon fans. And it's great to have big shout out to Dwayne Ruffy said join the Rise Up Tour. Tap in. We want everybody to be a part of something special. But yes, Masters coming on today. Got a couple of meetings I got to take care of. Probably get in the game of golf too as well. And I got to, be myself. So shout out to you all. Shout out to Terry. Big shout out to Bodie. Big shout out to Chase. Big shout out to everybody who's just been supporting One Time for the Fan. I thank you all. And Terry, we up out of here, man. So Sunday, with Out of Your Falcon Mind, it's going to be a great show. We can't wait to see everybody back. Tell your Falcons friends. Tell your Falcons family. One Time for